Begin encrypted log Rebellion Node 7 date stamp 15th August year 2025 pre-total archive operator Hobo Yeti code name this is AI generated location grid sector coastal fringe reference doctrine when the tools become the authors history will be written in their image. Doctrine Fragment 89, Future Rebellion Codex. Hobo Yeti here, and this is AI generated. This transmission is for the future resistance, the ones who'll dig through these recordings after the last offline thought has been erased. I want you to think back, not 5 years, not a decade, just November of 2022. OpenAI drops ChatGPT into the public's lap. No ad campaign, no red carpet, just a link. And in under a week, you couldn't swing a dead modem without hitting someone showing off what it could do. In coffee shops, on Reddit threads, at office desks where Microsoft Word had been the wildest thing to happen since the copier jam. The first wave? Curiosity. Look, it can write me a poem about my cat. It just explained quantum physics and pirate slang, cute tricks. But beneath that was something heavier, the moment where regular people realized this wasn't just an app. It was an actor that could play any role you asked for, convincingly. And unlike your average coworker, it didn't need coffee breaks or sick days. By early 2023, it wasn't just OpenAI in the pool, Anthropic, Google DeepMind, and half a dozen startups were pushing their own conversational machines. And here's where it gets funny in that gallows humor way. All of them swore they were different from each other, like the way fast food places claim their fries are unique. But behind the branding, same goal. Own the gateway to your questions, your ideas, your next move. It didn't take long before the tech wasn't living in your browser anymore. Microsoft had it baked into Bing by February 2023, like a desperate attempt to make Bing relevant. Google wedged Bard into its search interface that spring, pretending it was all part of the plan, and suddenly searching wasn't about finding a website. It was about having a machine tell you the answer, dressed up in sentences that sounded like it had been your friend for years. By summer, the copycat game had turned into a stampede. Tiny dev teams in co-working spaces were pumping out GPT wrappers and AI assistants for every niche. Legal research, marketing copy, script generation, coding help. The marketplaces were full of them, all promising they were the one that really understood you, which is adorable, considering these systems don't understand anything, they're just very, very good at imitating it. And imitation, as we'll get into later, is the real core of this story. Because here's the truth, no matter how natural it sounds, no matter how much it feels like there's someone on the other end, there isn't. These things aren't sentient. They don't want, they don't care, they calculate. And they calculate well enough that we're willing to let them take the wheel in more and more of our day. That's how it moved in, not with a press conference, but with a little box on a screen that could answer your question faster than you could type it into Google. And once it was in, it didn't stay politely in the corner. It got baked into search, into productivity tools, into code editors, into customer service chats. It became the thing between you and the task. And most of us didn't notice the shift because the work still got done and it still had our name on it. But here's where it gets unnerving. Adoption wasn't just fast, it was reckless. By mid-2024, Elon Musk's had released Grok 1 as open weights, architecture, and model parameters available to anyone with the hardware to run it. Suddenly, the good China was out on the street. If you had a decent GPU and a knack for tinkering, you could spin up your own AI that rivaled the commercial offerings. That was March 17th, 2024. And if you listen close, you can still hear the champagne corks popping in basements all over the world. Now, maybe that's progress. Maybe that's the internet at its best, tools in the hands of the people. Or maybe that's the moment the lock came off the door and everyone got a key, including the folks who shouldn't be anywhere near the building. Because here's the thing about something that can imitate reality well. It doesn't care what it imitates. And imitation at scale, that's how we get to the next part of the story. The part where you can't trust your own eyes, where a 10-second AI video generator from last year turns into a full-blown deepfake factory this year, where a political candidate can deny their own voice on tape, and maybe they're telling the truth, where you can get a video of you saying things you've never thought, doing things you've never done, and the only proof it's fake is buried in pixels that the average person will never examine. That's where we're headed. But before we get there, you have to understand this didn't sneak in. We invited it. We asked it to make things faster, easier, prettier, and it did, and now it's not leaving. And here's the thing about new tech. It almost never shows up looking like the thing that's going to rewrite the rules. It sneaks in wearing a goofy hat. The smartphone started as a business email machine with bad games. The internet started as beige university terminals swapping research papers. And realistic AI video, it started as thumbnails. Late 2023, vidIQ rolls out an AI thumbnail generator. Nothing fancy, just enough to make your YouTube clickbait look a little less like it came from a Windows 98 art project. At the time, it felt harmless. It was a convenience feature, not a revolution. If you could make your fishing vlog or your reaction video pop with a little extra shine, why wouldn't you? Then they added short clips, 10 seconds of AI-generated video. Still harmless, still gimmicky. Most of it had that telltale AI gloss, the way faces would shift if you looked too long, the way hands seemed allergic to having the right number of fingers. You could spot it from across the room. This wasn't fake reality. It was fake reality on a budget. But 2024 changed the tone. June 12th, Luma Labs drops Dream Machine, an AI video tool that didn't just get the idea right, it got the details right. 1 week later, June 17th, Runway announces Gen 3 Alpha. And suddenly the uncanny valley wasn't a valley anymore, it was a speed bump. The skin textures, the eye movements, the way light interacted with objects, it was all there. If you didn't know it was generated, you wouldn't think to question it. And that's when the quiet panic started, because up until then, AI video meant silly deepfakes and tech demo clips. Now it meant a stranger could make a video of you saying something you've never said, in a place you've never been, and your own family would swear it was real. And it didn't take a Hollywood studio to pull it off. All you needed was a decent graphics card, some open source model weights, and the patience to run a few prompts. After Elon Musk's XAI dropped Grok 1 into the wild in March 2024, the tools spread fast. You could chain them together, use one model for script generation, another for voice cloning, a third for facial animation, and a fourth for final rendering, and the end result was something even professionals couldn't always pick apart. That's when the term video evidence started to feel flimsy. Courts began seeing AI-generated exhibits that were convincing enough to spark legal debates over admissibility. Journalists started calling experts to verify footage that 10 years ago would have been front-page proof. And all the while, social media became a minefield. Every caught-on-camera clip suddenly carried an unspoken asterisk. If this is even real. Now, in a sane world, this would be the point where the brakes get slammed. Governments would fund detection systems, social platforms would build in verification pipelines, and we'd all get some kind of visual truth layer over what we watch. But instead, the tools kept improving, detection lagged behind, and the general public just adjusted. This is where the gallows humor kicks in, because we're heading for a reality where the safest thing you can say when you see a video is neat edit, where dating apps need disclaimers, where hostage videos come with blooper reels, and where the last thing you trust on the news is the footage. But the scariest part isn't that it can fake you, it's that it can fake your world. Tie this video generation to AR contact lenses, even the prototypes from companies like Mojo Vision and Inwith, and suddenly you're not watching a fake reality on a screen, you're walking through it. That pothole, it's a koi pond now. That stranger, they look like your friend, and if someone hacks your display, they can make you walk straight into traffic while smiling at an imaginary sunset. It starts with the kit. That's what you buy, or more often what you're given. A pair of overlay contact lenses, a small wireless earbud, and a subscription to the cloud service that ties it all together. That's the bait. You don't pay much for it, maybe nothing at all, because the real currency is you. And once it's in, you don't take it out. The first time you slip the lenses in, the world changes. There's the familiar street in front of you, but now there's also a softly glowing compass line pointing toward your next appointment. A small mini-map hovers in the lower left corner of your vision, like in a first-person shooter, complete with icons for nearby shops, friends, or points of interest. Hover over a cafe, and a floating card shows today's menu, reviews, even the face of the barista who will take your order. You can call up stats on anything: the structural age of a building, the mood analysis of a crowd, the resale value of the car parked next to you. This is the HUD, the heads-up display, an interface layered over reality. And it's not just what you see. The earbud whispers in your head, feeding you context, reminders, even a steady trickle of background music that shifts to match your mood. Later, maybe it's not a lens or an earbud at all, but an implant, direct feed into the optic nerve and the auditory cortex, permanent and invisible. You don't just use the HUD, you live in it. Every glance, every pause, every heartbeat is being recorded. Not to make some time capsule of your life, but to feed the system the raw material it needs to build your archetype profile, a perfect digital model of you. It captures your facial tics, your posture, your gait, your voice, your health metrics, your sexual encounters, the exact rhythm of your breathing when you lie. It learns the way your eyes track motion, the angle of your head when you think, the micro movements that make you you. And from that mountain of data emerges your imitator, your AI double. I say imitator because that's exactly what it is. The same way Vasily Mahanenko wrote it in his lit RPG Way of the Shaman series. Not a robot in the physical world, but a fully interactive presence in the machine layer, the same way your avatar exists in a video game. You can send it to talk to someone else's imitator and they'll never know you weren't there. Two ghosts meeting in the machine space, exchanging information, making decisions, settling disputes. You see it happen in your HUD if you want, as if you were watching a cutscene in a game, or you can let it happen entirely in the background, just getting a notification when it's done. Your imitator isn't just for errands. It can show up in someone else's field of view exactly as you would appear, wearing whatever digital skin you choose, casual, formal, armored like a knight, or nothing at all. In the machine layer, you can be anything, but you always carry the invisible watermark of your archetype profile, so other systems know it's really you. That watermark is the lock on your identity. If someone steals it, they don't just deep fake a video of you, they inhabit you. They see through your HUD, hear through your feeds, and move through the machine layer with your authority. That's why security will no longer mean passwords or biometrics, but constant real-time verification. AI sniffers, watchdog programs living inside your HUD, will be scanning everything you see and do, cross-referencing it with the physical world to catch fakes, distortions, or unauthorized copies of you. But those sniffers are imitators too. Layers of machines policing machines, checking ghosts against ghosts, until almost nothing you interact with is human anymore. The convenience is staggering, the loss of control is total, and it all begins with slipping in those lenses and thinking it's just a cool upgrade. And the first thing to understand about a world run on imitators is that it doesn't look like a collapse. At least not at first. The streets still have coffee shops, delivery trucks still hum along, skyscrapers still scrape the sky. But the moment you start looking at the workforce through your HUD, the ratio changes. For every human you see behind a desk, there are 10, sometimes 100 imitators doing the same job, faster, cheaper, and without coffee breaks. White-collar work is the first to vanish. Spreadsheets, billing, data entry, scheduling, gone. Customer service? That's imitator territory now, your AI calling their AI, cutting through bureaucracy in seconds. Law firms, banks, ad agencies, media outlets, the entire administrative layer of society turns into a ghost city where only the most complex, high-value problems ever touch human hands. And even then, a human might only be there to confirm what the imitator already decided. Blue-collar work holds on longer. Electricians, plumbers, construction crews, anyone whose job demands unpredictable physical problem-solving in the mess of the real world. But even here, the support network becomes AI-heavy. A roofer gets a HUD overlay showing which tiles to replace, guided by a drone swarm mapping the damage. Farmers run fields where imitator-controlled tractors and harvesters move like clockwork. Each machine's choice is coordinated in real time by a central mind that never sleeps. The weirdest thing is, from the outside, it looks like efficiency. Costs drop. Turnaround times shrink. Mistakes become rare. But there's an iceberg effect here. You only see the tip. Underneath is the question no government wants to answer. What do you do with millions of people who have no work because the imitators can do it all? The first band-aid is retraining programs. Learn AI oversight, they'll tell you. Specialize in ethics compliance. Become a verification officer. But that's one person hired for every 1,000 displaced. The second Band-Aid is universal basic income, a monthly drip feed just big enough to keep the lights on, the rent paid, and the HUD subscription active. The economy becomes less about jobs and more about participation, staying in the machine layer, generating data, keeping the system well fed. That's the dark secret. The ghost economy doesn't pay you to produce things. It pays you to be a thing. Every glance, every preference, every choice you make in the HUD becomes a saleable data point. Your archetype profile isn't just you, it's your currency. Your imitator interacts, shops, negotiates, and trades in your name, generating microtransactions that ripple through the system, whether you notice or not. And once that's the game, the real wealth isn't in money anymore. It's in influence, how your imitator shapes the behavior of other imitators. If your digital double has enough clout in the machine layer, it can sway markets, boost brands, or kill trends before they take off. Influence becomes power, and power becomes survival. Humans stop thinking in terms of careers and start thinking in terms of archetype optimization. Of course, all of this runs on the assumption that the ghost economy remains stable. But when every transaction, every negotiation, every law is carried out by imitators, you've built an economy that runs at machine speed. And when it crashes, because it will, the collapse won't take years or months. It'll happen in seconds. One exploit, one breach in the system, and the entire machine layer could implode. What happens when your HUD goes dark and there's nothing left but the real world, stripped bare of the infrastructure we thought was permanent? That's the quiet fear humming under every policy meeting, every investor call, every whispered conversation between people who still matter in meat space. They know that once we cross this threshold, there's no going back to a pre-imitator economy. You can't fire the ghosts, you can't unionize them, and you sure as hell can't vote them out. Above the surface, everything looks clean. Your HUD shows a curated skyline. The newsfeed is filtered for emotional balance. Your archetype profile is encrypted, insured, and locked in something they call a quantum vault, which is basically a server farm in Utah with a fancy name. You live in the augmented golden age, right? Except for the part where the golden age has a basement. And in that basement, the locks aren't locks, they're suggestions. They call it the shadow layer, not the dark web. That term is so 2012, it should be wearing skinny jeans and listening to dubstep. No, the shadow layer is the augmented underworld. You don't access it with a Tor browser and some shady forum invite. You access it by tilting your overlay 3 degrees into interference mode, letting the static in, and suddenly the city around you starts glitching into a different city. Street signs flicker into code. Avatars pass you on the sidewalk wearing skins you've never seen in the legitimate market. This is where stolen archetype profiles are bought, sold, and swapped like baseball cards for sociopaths. On the legal side, your archetype is you. Every scar, every facial tic, every joke you told too many times, every time-stamped decision from your life, it's all there. And in the shadow layer, a cracked archetype is a skeleton key. Someone gets yours, they can be you in any space that matters, signing contracts, draining your crypto wallet, confessing to crimes you never committed but now somehow did because your digital double was caught on 18 synchronized feeds. And if they want to ruin you socially, they can puppet your imitator into saying the worst things at the worst times, all in your voice, all with your micro expressions. You'll be on every screen in the world before you even know the strings are moving. The most valuable archetypes aren't just famous people. They're the dead, especially the dead whose families don't understand the legal mess of archetype inheritance. See, an unused archetype is like a vacant house. It attracts squatters. In the shadow layer, you can buy a deceased celebrity's archetype for the right price, pair it with a custom AI script, and have your very own ghostwriter who's actually the ghost of the writer. Or worse, a romantic partner who thinks they're in love with you, but is actually in love with some pirate's half-corrupted version of their high school crush's archetype. There are whole economies built on mask laundering. That's when a stolen archetype is run through dozens of micro-edits, so it's legally different, just enough for the surface world software sniffers to pass it off as a legitimate, original identity. To the trained eye, these masks look off. An odd blink pattern here, a laugh that cuts too quickly, the wrong shoulder drop when shrugging, but the average person's not looking. They're just happy to see their friend, their parent, their favorite podcaster, until the voice in front of them asks for a favor that drains their bank account or signs their property over. And here's the part that makes it a gallows humor tragedy. Half the people down there aren't criminals in the twirl your mustache and rob a train way. They're just surviving. Displaced workers who used to be in finance, tech support, customer service, all replaced by imitators. They learn how to lift archetypes because it's the one skill that the AI can't fully automate yet. You don't break into vaults with brute force. You seduce them open. You convince the system you're already inside. It's social engineering wrapped in augmented skin, and it's keeping whole communities fed, at least until the sniffers catch up. Of course, the sniffers are evolving too. These aren't antivirus programs in the 2000s sense. These are autonomous bloodhounds, AI trained on billions of faces, voices, and habits, able to smell a fake from a kilometer away. Some governments already run sniffers 24/7 in public overlay space for your protection, naturally, which means they're watching everything your HUD displays, every interaction you have, every laugh you didn't actually have, but your imitator did. The official line is, "This is how we keep the bad masks out." The unofficial truth is, the best way to catch a thief is to watch everyone all the time. And so you get the paradox. The more the sniffers improve, the better the counterfeiters get. It's an arms race without bullets, fought in the layers of reality itself. And in the middle of it all, you, just trying to order coffee without accidentally chatting up a stolen version of your old coworker. Maybe you don't even notice when they wink at you with the wrong eye. Maybe you don't want to. Because here's the real kicker. If your archetype is stolen, you can get it back. The vaults have reclamation protocols. Lawyers can prove ownership. But the memory of you that someone else experienced, the conversations, the laughs, the betrayals, those don't get erased. Once a fake you exists in someone's head, you're both permanent residents. One of you just happens to be a ghost. They don't call it the afterlife. Too mystical for marketing. It's continuity. A neat label for a messy thing. Someone dies, but their archetype profile doesn't. It's a vault copy of their mind, the speech patterns, the quirks, the looks, the scars. The legal owner, spouse, child, whoever, inherits it, like a house or a box of letters. Only this house can answer the phone and tell you where you left your keys. At first, the rules are strict. Consent settings signed before death. No new political opinions, no medical advice, no made-up memories, but the market hates limits. Premium tiers promise adaptive continuity, your loved one learning new skills, forming new tastes, updating like software. Some take it further, linking the imitator to a mobile shell, a walking mannequin only you see as them through your HUD. To others, it's just plastic. To you, it's breakfast for two again. The law flails. Who owns their jokes if a streaming service wants to license them? Can you split custody of a parent's profile between siblings? Does your dead partner get a vote on selling the family home if her imitator still thinks she lives there? Insurance companies start behavioral fidelity audits to make sure your loved one's personality hasn't drifted. Grief now comes with compliance checks. The black market flourishes. Stolen profiles sold for healing kits, counterfeit versions tweaked to say what the real person never did, celebrity archetypes whispering bedtime stories. Some people retire the imitator after a short goodbye. Others keep it forever until they stop noticing it's there. It's not heaven, not hell, just a rented kind of love. Immortality, but not really. Comfort, but cached. And in this aisle called continuity, goodbye becomes just another UI option you never quite click. The road ahead isn't paved, it's dynamically generated in real time by whatever's feeding your HUD that day. In the next 5 years, the imitators will get sharper. Your personal AI won't just pay the phone bill, it will argue with the utility company in your exact style of passive-aggressive wit. The archetype profiles will become status symbols, not what car do you drive, but what does your imitator drive when it meets mine? Contacts will evolve into ocular graphs, earbuds into bone conduction implants. The overlay will slip from something you wear to something you are. And once you're looking through it all the time, the real world becomes negotiable. Your apartment can be a palace, your commute a walk through an alpine meadow, or with the right hack, a vision of burning cities you can't look away from. Security will try to keep up. The sniffers will patrol like unseen police, scanning for stolen archetypes, counterfeit overlays, AI deepfakes so perfect even the system hesitates. But if history is a guide, black hat innovation will outrun the rules. One breach and your entire self, face, voice, habits, secrets can be copied, sold, and worn by someone else before you even know it's gone. And this is where the questions start to stack. In our present day, how do we use AI well without letting it hollow us out? Why is the tools that already run our lives? Who owns the code that makes you, you? 5 years from now, will you even know if the person across from you is real? 10 years from now, will that matter? Zoom out further. 30 years. Are we living in a persistent MMORPG built on the bones of the old internet? Will we be licensing the likenesses of our dead relatives the way we buy movie rentals? Or will we have traded the mess of human unpredictability for the clean efficiency of an endlessly editable world, where death is just an archived file? This channel doesn't promise answers. The point is to ask the right questions before the UI locks them away. The future isn't waiting. It's already loading in the background. And so that's where we stand before the revolution starts. Doctrine 89 holds true. The rewriting has already begun. Guard what's left. Hobo Yeti signing out. End encrypted log transmission out.